Mercer County Schools, Board Policy Training. Employee Code of Conduct, G-24. The purpose of the Employee Code of Conduct is to establish appropriate standards of conduct for all Mercer County school personnel. This policy requires that Mercer County school employees respond immediately and consistently to incidents of bullying, harassment, intimidation, substance abuse, violence, or any other code of conduct violation that impacts negatively on students, in a manner that effectively addresses incidents, deters future incidents, and affirms respect for individuals. Definitions. Adult student. Anyone of legal age, not enrolled in pre-K through 12th grade attending one or more post-secondary or community education classes in Mercer County. Alcohol. Any intoxicating liquid that contains alcohol. Controlled substances, as regulated by federal law. A list of controlled substances as demonstrated as Schedule 1 through 5 in Section 202 of the Controlled Substance Act, 21 U.S.C. 812 and West Virginia Code 60A-2-201. This includes any new substances that are discovered and amended to the code. Distribution. The sale, giving, transfer, delivery, trade, or exchange in any manner of any drug. Drug. Any substance with mind-altering actions, or that acts on the central nervous system, and refers to the use or possession of all such substances including, but not limited to, inhalants, marijuana, cocaine, LSD, PCP, amphetamines, heroin, steroids, lookalikes, and any other of those substances commonly referred to as designer drugs. Drug screen. A scientifically substantiated method of testing for the presence of illegal or prohibited drugs, or for drugs which the individual has a prescription or the metabolites thereof in a person's urine. Employee. All individuals employed by Mercer County Board of Education. Illegal drug. Any drug which is illegally obtained and/or is being used by a person other than the person for whom it is prescribed. Insubordination. The failure to comply with a directive from immediate supervisor or failure to comply with county or state board policy. Legal drug. Any prescribed drug and/or over-the-counter drug which has been legally obtained and is being used solely for the purpose for which it was intended by the manufacturer. Medication. Any drug used as medical treatment for a therapeutic effect. Mind-altering chemicals. Substances are considered mind-altering when they are used in a manner that impairs one's mental faculties and/or physical performance. Non-prescription or over-the-counter drugs. Those that may be legally purchased without a prescription. Paraphernalia. Any item, thing, or device as defined by West Virginia Code, Section 47-19-3. Possession. The presence of an illegal drug on a person, in any amount, in or on any item belonging under the general control or responsibility of the person, when observed, discovered or otherwise determined by a school or county teacher, administrator or law enforcement officer. Prescription drugs. Any drugs ordered by a legally authorized health care provider. Pupil or student. Anyone enrolled in any pre-K to 12th grade instructional program or activity conducted under board authorization and within the facilities of, or in connection with any program under public school direction. Racial harassment. Racial harassment consists of physical, verbal or written conduct relating to an individual's race, when the conduct does the following. Creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. Substantially or unreasonably interferes with an individual's job performance. Adversely affects an individual's job opportunities. Religious or ethnic harassment. Religious or ethnic harassment consists of physical, verbal or written conduct which is related to an individual's religion or ethnic background when the conduct does the following. Creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment. Interferes with an individual's job opportunities. Sexual harassment. Sexual harassment consists of sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, sexually motivated physical conduct or other verbal or physical conduct or communication of a sexual nature when the following occurs. Submission to sexual conduct is made a term or condition, either explicitly or implicitly, of obtaining an education, retaining employment, or submission to or rejection of sexual conduct by an individual is used as a factor in decisions affecting that individual's education, or that conduct or communication has the purpose or effect of substantially or unreasonably interfering with an individual's employment or education. Sexual harassment may include but is not limited to the following: verbal harassment of a sexual nature or abuse, pressure for sexual activity, inappropriate or unwelcome patting, pinching, or physical contact, sexual behavior or words, including demands for sexual favors, accompanied by implied threats and/or promises concerning an individual's educational or employment status. Behavior, verbal or written words or symbols directed at an individual because of gender. The use of authority to emphasize the sexuality of a student in a manner that prevents or impairs that student's full enjoyment of educational benefits, climate, culture, or opportunities. Sexual violence. Sexual violence is a physical act of aggression or force, or the threat thereof, which involves the touching of another's intimate parts, or forcing a person to touch any person's intimate parts. Intimate parts include the primary genital area, groin, inner thigh, buttocks or breasts, as well as the clothing covering these areas. Sexual violence may include, but is not limited to the following: touching, patting, grabbing, or pinching another person's intimate parts, whether that person is of the same sex or the opposite sex. Coercing, forcing, or attempting to coerce or force the touching of anyone's intimate parts. Coercing, forcing, or attempting to coerce or force sexual intercourse or a sexual act on another. Threatening to force or coerce sexual acts, including the touching of intimate parts or intercourse, on another, or threatening or forcing exposure of intimate apparel or body parts by removal of clothing. Social media. Electronic communication via an internet or cellular platform through social network sites such as Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, Google, Path, LiveJournal, Tagged, Orkut, Meetup, My Life, Snapchat, or others. Social photo-video sharing sites. Electronic photo-video sharing via the internet or cellular network sites such as Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Vine, Snapchat, Periscope, or any other social media sites, unless the site is WVDE approved and no longer subject to being blocked. Use of by ingestion, injection, absorption, or inhalation of said substance or being under the influence of said substance. Expected behaviors. All Mercer County School employees shall exhibit professional behavior by showing positive examples of preparedness, communication, fairness, punctuality, attendance, language, and appearance. Be prepared and on time for work. Refrain from the use of profane and/or vulgar language. Dress in a professional manner appropriate for the job and in compliance with all county and/or school dress codes. Communicate professionally with colleagues, parents, and students. Exhibit honesty and integrity in all dealings with colleagues, parents, and students. Comply with all directives from immediate supervisor as well as those found in school policy. Contribute, cooperate, and participate in creating an environment in which all employees' students are accepted and are provided the opportunity to achieve at the highest levels in all areas of development. Maintain a safe, healthy environment, free from harassment, intimidation, bullying, substance abuse, violence, and free from bias and discrimination. No employee shall use any tobacco products, including electronic cigarettes or vaping devices, illegal drugs, or prescription medications, other than how prescribed on school property. No employee shall distribute any tobacco products, illegal drugs, or prescription medication that is not covered by a physician-ordered administration of medication form. No employee supervising students off school grounds shall distribute or use any tobacco or nicotine-containing products in the presence of students. An exception shall be made to allow possession use of approved nicotine replacement products for tobacco cessation. WVDE Policy 2422.8. Medication administration must be followed, in order for employees to use such products on school property or at school-sponsored events. When there is reasonable suspicion that an employee is under the influence of or using any prohibited or illegal substances described in Section 2.0 of this policy, the following shall occur. The employee shall be reported immediately to the principal or department head. The principal or department head shall notify the assistant superintendent or superintendent. The principal or department head shall take the employee directly to the contracted drug alcohol testing center designated by the assistant superintendent or superintendent. The employee shall be administered a drug or alcohol screening by a representative of the contracted drug alcohol testing center. Failure to submit to a drug screening test will be considered a violation of the employee code of conduct and the employee will be subjected to disciplinary action. Any attempt by the employee to tamper with the specimen collection process will be considered a violation of this policy and the employee will be subjected to disciplinary action. A written report of the screening results shall be made available to the superintendent of schools within 48 hours of the testing. Upon receipt of the written report by the superintendent of schools, a conference will be held with the employee and depending upon the results of the report, disciplinary action will be taken if merited. Disciplinary action may include any or all of the following: written reprimand, suspension, or termination. The employee is expected to assist in creating a culture of caring through understanding and support. Assist in creating a classroom and school environment that is free from bias and discrimination. Report to the appropriate personnel all violations of Mercer County File J-18, expected behavior in safe and supportive schools. As observed by school employees or by students and reported to a school employee. Demonstrate responsible citizenship by maintaining a high standard of conduct, self-control, and moral ethical behavior. Maintain confidentiality when discussing students' behavior, background, and/or academic progress with fellow staff members. Maintain confidentiality in use of all documents, records, data, recordings, blueprints, photographs, or other sources of information of interest to the Mercer County Board of Education. Maintain confidentiality by refraining from discussing or commenting on any student's behavior, background and/or academic progress via social media or in conversation outside the school day. Limit the personal use of cell phones during the workday to the following occasions: during lunch break, off-duty periods or emergencies directly related to duties of the job. Be prohibited from use of social media and social photo-video sharing sites during the workday. Restrict communication with students via cell phone, text messages, or via social media and/or photo-video sharing sites which are directly related to academic, extracurricular, or co-curricular matters. And use only the board-approved platform for internet-based communication between employee, parent, and student. Otherwise, communication via these devices or platforms shall be prohibited. Not conduct closed-door conferences, meetings, tutoring, and/or testing sessions with individual students without another professional present or without direct visibility via an interior window or a video security camera. Comply with all federal and West Virginia laws, policies, regulations, and procedures. All romantic relationships between students and employees are prohibited, regardless of the age of the student. Employees and students will not engage or attempt to engage in any non-professional social behavior with each other. Non-professional social behavior includes but is not limited: sexual flirtations, advances, or propositions which include inappropriate remarks about an individual's body or sexually degrading words used toward an individual which are intended to describe the individual. It also includes handholding or physical caressing and any type of sexual activity including contact through electronic media outlets, any touching of a sexual nature, hugging, kissing, and dating. Furthermore, the display in the school or workplace of sexually suggestive actions, gestures, objects, graffiti, or pictures is prohibited. Employees who have authority over adult students shall not engage in romantic or non-professional behavior as defined in 3.2 above. Unique exceptions would include, but not be limited to, married couples. In a situation in which an employee has no authority over an adult student, it is not the intent of this policy to restrict that employee from engaging in a romantic relationship. For example, a romantic relationship between a teacher at Straley Elementary and an adult student taking a post-secondary course at the Mercer County Technical Education Center is not prohibited by this policy. Employees who fail to abide by this policy shall be subject to disciplinary action including a letter of reprimand, suspension, and/or termination. Responsibilities for implementation. Mercer County Schools shall provide for the distribution of the Employee Code of Conduct to all Mercer County School employees. Annually, Mercer County Public Schools shall provide professional development on the Employee Code of Conduct for all employees. Each employee will sign documentation that they have received this training and understand expected behaviors.